Good afternoon, everyone. Gabe Velazquez here with you, transfertrainsolutions.com on a Friday. This is the last day of January. Tariff talks today, stirring up the markets a little bit. Apparently, there's a negative reaction from in the initial tariff. So let's get right into the charts again. Subscribe to the newsletter. I have a class coming up in about a week, actually a week from Tuesday. I'll post it here. Subject to be determined. So sign up for that, and I'll be writing about the newsletter. But let's get into the charts overall. Again, lots of choppy trading. Back and forth. We did talk about with I guess the notables is the S&P did try to touch the highs, and then as the tariff news came out. This is an all-time high, and our rules state that we generally don't want to short against all-time highs because, again, generally speaking, they do try to take those out. And in this case, they stalled out right at the highs again. You can see the S&P futures. So there's like a bigger resistance here. This is either setting up for another breakout, or we break down below 60, I don't know, let's say 60, 50. We probably revisit this at some point next week if we reverse some of these gains here. The NASDAQ, interestingly, also came right into that gap, kind of filled that gap a little bit, and is starting to come off. It's not as volatile, which is interesting. The mega caps, just a mixed bag all over the place. So again, lots of back and forth, not really any kind of follow through yet. Maybe again, we go back, and I think at some point we're going to test this low at some point. Something comes out of China. China's been closed for Chinese New Year, so that is going to be really interesting when they reopen. And everything else, Bitcoin did sell off. It was kind of coiling up here, still kind of hitting resistance back and forth. Nothing new there. What was another impact of the tariff, kind of the confirmation of tariffs, was the interest rates did jump. But again, with regards to any kind of change in the overall technical picture, not really. You can see we're kind of just holding firm at around 450. The dollar also just generally just chopping around. Did make mention of gold in the newsletter a little bit, and the Tuesday video that I did, it's pulling back away from 28. This is the contract specific, remember. So the contract specific, you can see the high is around 28.50. It's pulling back. And then nat gas looks like it's coming into that $3 mark, which is going to be really interesting if it holds again this go around. And then maybe, forms a range between 3 and 380, which could be a possibility. Under the hood, there was a bunch of stuff going on. If you take a look at Apple, faded really hard. Earnings yesterday, as everybody knows, right up to this gap in pre-market. So there's this gap that was left there. And in pre-market, we actually did come really close to that gap. I think the high was like, if you take a look here at the high in the pre-market, very close. I mean, for all intent and purpose, let's call it, and then it faded, and now it's sitting at support at 3. So there's going to be a big range here in Apple shares here, and then also Nvidia is sitting at support, also forming some support right around the, let's call it 120, 118 to 115 level. You can see Nvidia. All the rest of the mega caps kind of just chopping around. Meta gave back some. So very, very kind of rangy. Even the mega caps are getting into a range here. Some of these other stocks, again, it's kind of a mixed bag, really. The energy shares, like for instance, EOG back to support, big swings in a lot of these stocks. We have a bunch of earnings again next week. The notable earnings today was Apple, really, because everything else really didn't move a whole lot. Meta did make a new high, and it's given some of that back. Microsoft was down. So that really kind of sums up the week. Again, volatility should pick up next week as we get more on this tariff. We got non-farm payrolls on Friday of next week. So as usual, again, but I would just summarize and say markets are just back and forth trying to figure out some stuff, seeing if the tariffs are going to be inflationary, if all the deregulation is going to offset some of the tariffs, and so on and so forth. So as always, markets are very interesting and never a dull moment, but you still have to stick to the strategy, whatever you have. Okay. All right. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Tuesday. Take care.